Nancy Wallace Lobbs, and my husband Brian's on here as well. And we are real estate investors, and we primarily do right now, we're doing short-term rentals, long-term rentals, owner finance, where we buy the house and then we owner finance it. So those are kind of the primary. I mean, we've done like flips and wholesales, but that's what we're doing right now. So prior to the pandemic, I used to host a couple different meetups, and then I was a chapter leader for a big real estate group. And then with the pandemic and all that kind of went away, and it was really hard to like kind of communicate and get back together. Well, then I thought when we were doing the Zoom, what I really liked about it is that I could get people that just weren't from Dallas, because when you do a meetup, in person, you have to figure out what day is going to work the best for everybody, what time's going to be work the best, what plays. And so really when it came down to it, the Zoom calls were very, I know we had a lot of traction, and then the thing that I wanted to do with this real estate community was kind of bring people together, because I do like to go to networking events. But one of the things, like Monica and I met at the Quest Expo in Houston about 3 weeks ago, I guess that was. And, it's kind of hard to keep in connection with people that you meet in a meetup. So what I wanted to do was create a meetup, a real estate community that, number one, would be online, so people could, if they're out running around or they live in a different state, because we actually had quite a few people from the Quest Expo sign up that were from out of state. We have Monica from Houston, and we have Miriam and Omad from Crandall, and then Lisa is joining us, I see, and we'll wish her welcome here. So my whole idea was, okay, let's have a networking group, but the twist to networking, I think, is the follow-up, and it's easy to get the business cards if you use them, or you put somebody in your phone and then you're like, okay, what did that person want, or what did that person need? So these will all be recorded. And since you guys have joined the real estate community, what we're going to do is we're going to actually put this on a platform where you can go back and watch it. Now, this one will probably be not one where you're like, oh, let's go back and watch it. But as we evolve, my thinking is that, the group is going to kind of dictate what we learn about, and, in different markets. And I want to give everybody a chance to kind of talk about who they are and what they do. So that's kind of why my husband and I decided to do this. The other thing is Brian and I invest together. And so we thought, well, let's have I've done networking groups with other people. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it with my husband. So, because he's my partner in crime. So that's kind of a little bit about us. And so what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes. I know, Monica, you got to jump off here. So I'm going to start with you. Would you just kind of tell everybody what you do? We met, you can tell them where we met, but you did that when we came on. And then, what you're looking for, and, how your real estate business is going, and what do you need?
I just moved down to Houston this spring from Seattle. I've been in real estate, finance, and property management for 34 years. So I'm focusing right now, sort of stepping up to apartment syndications and focusing on raising capital with a capital fund. So I just bought a condo down here for a long-term rental. I'll still be doing some short-term projects, specifically as I get the capital fund up and running, to keep, cover expenses and keep money moving, but really trying to hone in and focus on the capital raising for the apartment syndications.
Yeah, and Monica actually had a very nice deal. We couldn't do it, but, because if you're interested in syndication and, learning about investing in multifamily, it's good to just have that person so you can ask a lot of questions. And when we met Monica, I had a lot of questions and she answered all of them. And she has a good, I don't know, do you still have that one opportunity that you're looking for?
We wouldn't be able to take a new investor, and it's a 506B.
Oh, okay.
I'd love to talk to somebody if they're interested in that type of investment, because of course we have other opportunities and other, between the fund and syndications, there's all kinds of ways to put money to work.
Right. And so then part of this community that you guys are going to have access to is eventually, as it gets built up, we're going to have, you can actually talk to one another, so you'll have the contact info. So, okay, Miriam and okay, I'm probably not gonna say his name, Omid. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you guys, are you currently investing? Did you start investing? Just tell us about your real estate investing journey and where you're at and what you're needing.
My son is a real estate agent and I am retired. And we haven't done any real estate investing at this point. We're just at the very, very beginning of this.
Okay,
We want to learn as much as we can.
at the beginning. Well, that's a very good place to start. And is there a particular, are you guys interested in one particular area of real estate investing, like, long-term rentals or flipping or wholesaling, or have you done some research? Tell us about that journey. Oh, can't hear you guys.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Omid.
I'm thinking maybe wholesaling and maybe long-term rentals in the future a little bit.
And so, what would help you guys to do your first deal? What is it that you need to know about? Like, kind of just tell us what you're looking for, or how could the group help you?
We're both kind of new on this. We're open for any kind of information, any kind of help we could get.
Okay. Now, Omid, where do you, with your real estate license, you can do a lot of searches. So what association do you belong to? Are you like with Houston or, HAR? Or, oh, you have to speak up.
Hello. I'm with Entrust in Dallas.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to talk up. Maybe do you guys need to get closer to the mic? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Let's see.
There you
There you
go.
go.
That's perfect right there when you said that.
I'm with the Dallas one, the North
Oh, okay.
Texas.
Metro Tex.
Yes.
Okay. So just a little tip, if you're kind of looking for rentals, let's say, long-term rentals or whatever, you can set some searches up. Have you had your license long? Have you been through Netris so you kind of know how to use MLS to search for properties?
Yeah, I know how to use it fairly well.
Okay. Because what I do is even though, I don't typically buy off of the MLS, I do set searches up. So for
Mhm.
me personally, I do like 3-bedroom, 2 baths, square footage between 1,500 and 1,800. I want the build year to be 1978 or newer. And then I just, then in a particular zip code that I'd like to invest in. So that's kind
Right.
of how I started when I bought rentals. And then for marketing, even though you're a real estate agent, you can still market for distressed properties. Some people like the, foreclosure list. There's the disadvantage with the foreclosure list is that there's just a lot of investors using that. I
Right.
prefer the pre-probate list. I use a company called foreclosuredaily.com. And I buy their pre-probate. And so there's a little trick to marketing to those folks. And I'm a real estate broker, so I get it, right? So I know there's certain things you have to
Okay, yeah.
disclose and everything. But I market to the pre-probate. And I'd be happy to talk to you guys about how that, or next month I can do a little presentation on how I work with my pre-probate leads. And pre-probate means the list I get, the person just died usually like last week. So no probate has been filed. So I
Right.
don't usually have to wait. I mean, those leads take a little bit longer because when I get the list, obviously I don't just contact them right away, because I did do that in the very beginning where I would like call them or send them a marketing piece. And yeah, I was called some pretty nasty names because, the person had just died the week before, which I wasn't
Right.
really tuned into. So now I wait about 8 weeks before I mail those. And the people are still sad, but they're not mad. right? So, so there's like a little trick to kind of marketing to that group of folks. And then there's, some people like, the like water shut off, you can usually get those just by going on the City of Dallas site, and that's public information. I think it's called the Public Information Act or something like that. And you can get water shut off lists, and you can do little mailers to them. So there's all kinds of things that you can do, even though you have a license. But I would say start with the MLS, because sometimes there are distressed properties on there. And you can even click down on the search bar. You can just say, ones that are by an owner. Because sometimes if there's a realtor representing the seller and they're not investor friendly, it's just going to make it harder to do the deal. So those are just my
Right,
2
right.
cents for you. So, but yeah, be happy to talk to you guys about that. And if you haven't gone on to my YouTube channel, I am going to be releasing a whole bunch of stuff about, I'm going to be releasing some stuff all about rentals and things like that. So that'll be helpful for you later. So, well, I see we have a couple new people here. We have Lisa and Rebecca. So welcome. Lisa, I'm going to start with you because you're just up here on my top here. So what we're doing is just kind of introducing, this is our inaugural meeting. And we had 50 people that signed up, and here you can see how many people are here. So that's okay, because that was the whole point of having a real estate community like this, is so it can be recorded, so you can always go back if you have to miss a meeting or something. So Lisa, tell us where you're from and where you're at in your real estate journey, if you would.
Hi, Nancy and everybody. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm originally from North Carolina. I am in real estate. I do have a broker's license here in Arizona. I was licensed in North Carolina, but that's been sleeping for a couple of decades now. Interestingly enough, though, my partner and I chose to invest in North Carolina, and we bought a property, closed on it in July, and are using that to start our short-term rental business.
Oh,
So-
excellent.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's been a whole learning curve, but doing really well, managing it ourselves from afar. So all the way across the country afar. But I would love to own international properties as well. So I figured, hey, let's try across this country first, see how that goes. Then I can branch out into some international destinations. But so far, so good.
Yeah. So when you started your short-term rental, did you just know that you wanted to buy in North Carolina? Because I get asked a lot of times, where should I buy a property? So how did you decide that you wanted to buy in North Carolina?
It was less expensive.
Okay.
The prices in Phoenix have just gone crazy, and that's everywhere really. But there, yes, we could actually get something very nice for under $250. And I've heard you say that before as well, like aiming for properties that are a little bit less than $250. I think that might have been the figure you used, just to mitigate risk.
Yes, because then you can there's always an exit strategy with those properties at the short-term rental. So are you up and running now on Airbnb or whatever?
Yes.
Very
just got our 3rd review. So we show up as a starred property, and all of them have been 5 stars. So
well, congratulations. Yay.
Thank you.
Well, for some of we have Mary Ann and her son Omid on here, and they're brand new to real estate investing. So tell them some of the challenges that you had, once you identified a property, and you're in Phoenix and it's in North Carolina. So how did you know you had a deal? I mean, did you go there? Do you have trusted boots on the ground? Tell them how you secured that property.
Yes, I worked with a realtor partner who is part of our nationwide firm. I did not know her before, but we're friends now. We're good friends now. But I did a lot of the searching on my own. She set me up with the MLS there. So I just constantly was combing through the listings, and that took months until I found a property in a community that we thought would be good. And then the financing part, and the financing is always elusive for us, because we took out a HELOC on our primary to be able to do that for the down payment. So that's just one way to get started.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. It's nerve wracking though, I will say. I mean, it's risky, but at the same time, we felt really confident in this property. And then of course, a lot of challenges. I mean, it really was a lot of challenges. It was sold furnished. They ended up stealing a lot of the furniture. There was a theft situation, but they knew it was going to be too expensive to do a lawsuit. So we just kept focusing on the positive. We've replaced the water heater. We're going to be replacing the washer dryer when we go back at the end of this month. I mean, just things that you wouldn't think. We'll have to replace the air conditioner next year, things that you were hoping would still be okay, but I think it's going to be a really good property. It's in a great community and very popular. So
Yeah. And what part of North Carolina did you end up investing?
it's Brunswick County, so it's
Okay.
very close to several beaches. It's actually very convenient to North Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, and then Sunset Beach in North Carolina, Ocean Isle Beach. Yeah, there are just so many things to do. It's on a golf course. It has a very relaxing golf course view, top floor corner condo. And they are set up for short-term rentals. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game for that community anyway, is to rent to golfers. And you can manage it yourself, or you can put it in their management program. Their management program takes 40%. So
Oh,
no
that is
way.
high. That's
That is
super high.
High. That's the highest end of high I've ever heard.
Yeah, the highest I've ever heard is 30%. But usually industry is like 20-25%. But again, it
Right.
depends on what they're doing for you. But 40%, no. And you're right.
So,
You know, you can manage it. That's the cool thing with short-term rental. I mean, I come from a property management background, and I have found that managing short-term rentals is a lot easier than, long-term rentals. I don't know. It just seems, maybe I was just more organized by the time I got to my short-term rental portfolio. But I enjoy, talking. I mean, we have systems in place. I'm sure you do too. Like,
Yes.
are you just doing it with Airbnb? Do you have it listed on VRBO too?
I did just put it up on VRBO a couple weeks ago. Of course, that coincided with all their technical issues. They've had some problems the past couple weeks. So I've got to check it again in about an hour to see if my 24 hours have gone by for fixes, because there were definitely some bugs. But yeah, I've got it on both. And then I'm managing with Hospitable, which I like.
Okay, yeah, that's who I was just gonna say, because I have a situation right now with VRBO. I had to call them. So one of our properties, it's Airbnb, VRBO. So we get about, I think, 86% of our bookings from Airbnb, 14, I forget the numbers, but it's 14% I know is right, from VRBO. And then we have direct, but most of them come from Airbnb. But so this happened. I had a guest that messaged me on VRBO as an inquiry. And I was like, okay. Then they were saying, hey, they wanted to know, can you make me an offer on these dates? And then I wrote back to them, well, can't you see the amounts on here? And then, so that was the end of that conversation. And so then I had from the same person, it appeared, with the same phone number, but one profile had an email, the other one didn't. No, I'm sorry. One had a phone number and the other one didn't, but they both had the same email address. So anyway, they end up booking, but it's coming in as a different inquiry. So I go ahead and accept it. And so then I noticed they were bringing dogs, and we're pet friendly, but we do have a $200 pet fee. So I wrote to them and said, hey, I looked on the payment detail, and I didn't see where you paid the pet fee. Do you have anything that says that you paid the pet fee? So she writes back and says, oh, we paid $1,000, like $1,055 for the 4 nights, $331 for cleaning, and $30 for the pet fee. And so I got on the phone with Airbnb, because I was like, okay, wait a minute. First of all, they cannot book my property for $1,000. It's like, okay, you can double that. And I had another thing that said they paid like $2,000, it was almost $2,100. And that my cleaning fee is only $180 and my pet fee is $200. So I don't know if I was trying to get scammed or what on that one, but VRBO did verify that they paid $2,088. So then I just screenshot what they paid and sent it to them. They're supposed to check in on Wednesday, and they still haven't paid the pet deposit or pet fee. So we'll see. And I didn't follow up with them today, so I'm going to wait till tomorrow to just see what the story is. But I have heard, like, VRBO has a lot of glitches. And so I'm
Mhm.
thinking that this is one of those glitches that you kind of have to be. I've never ever had that issue with Airbnb. So very interesting. So, well, thanks so much, Lisa, for sharing. I really appreciate it. So,
Thank you.
and welcome and welcome. So, and then we have Rebecca Valdez. Did I say it right, Rebecca?
Yes.
Well,
Yes, you
hello
did.
and welcome.
Well, hello.
Now tell us where you're from, where you're zooming in from, and about your real estate journey.
Okay, so I live in Houston, Texas, and I have one short-term rental that's out of state. It's in Gulf Shores, Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping to expand. I'd like a short-term rental in Galveston and Houston, and I'm also interested in midterm rentals for nurses and traveling corporates. So that's
And
kind of what I want to go for.
And we met at the Quest Expo, right?
Yeah, we did. Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. Well, tell the group about how you found your first short-term rental in Alabama.
Well, I chose that place because I grew up in Louisiana, and that's a pretty quick vacation spot. It's only about 3.5 hours or so away, maybe 4. So growing up, I went there, brought my kids there, and so it's a pretty fun place. It's got a little bit for everybody. And my son had bought a short-term rental. And I used his realtor, who is also an investor. So she was very helpful with that and helping me to pick the right spot. And so I went live in April. And so it's definitely been a learning curve for sure. Still learning along the way, because I do
Mhm.
self-manage right now since I just have the one property.
And do you have it both? Do you have it on both? Bye, Monica. Thanks for joining us. She had to go. She was doing a property presentation at 7 today. Do you have them on both the Airbnb and VRBO platform as well?
I do not. I just am on Airbnb, but I am going to add on to VRBO just because August and September have been pretty slow. So I
Mhm.
thought I might pick up some more, renters from there.
Mm-hmm. And I think you heard Lisa talking, and I use Hospitable. And the only reason I use Hospitable is because it's not a contract. I'm not techie. I mean, there's plenty of, platforms that you can use. And the only reason I would say you probably want to get, and Hospitable will also guarantee no double bookings, because VRBO sometimes, like you kind of heard our stories about VRBO, they have glitches.
Mhm.
So you just want to make sure however you're going to manage, they can sync. Like you can go on Airbnb and you can sync the VRBO calendar and vice versa. But sometimes the VRBO calendar forgets to talk to the Airbnb one. Just,
Oh.
So just be mindful of that. So,
Mhm.
because that's I think that's one of my biggest things is we've done same day turnover. And I just pray every time that happens. I mean, we have never had a problem where the guest stays over. And my cleaners are really good, but we have a checkout of 11 and a check-in at 3. And we've literally had, multiple times where people, are checking out and checking back in. And I think it's nerve-wracking just because I'm not there. I got to rely on the cleaners to make sure they don't forget anything and do everything. And then, always make sure with the guests and everything. So, well, thanks so much, Rebecca, for sharing. And I'm going to have my husband, Brian. We just celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary on October 3rd. So going to Nashville was kind of our little anniversary getaway. And I'm going to let him talk about our journey and some of the more positive experiences, and also about, husband and wives investing.
Well, that's a big topic, but we've been investing for a little over 15 years, and it's been quite the journey. Nancy, at the beginning of the show, I guess, has been talking about the different areas that we've been into. And I think, one of the most extreme ones that, and, surprising we're still married, was flipping. And that one was a tough one, but we don't really do that one anymore because the margins are too narrow. But we like the real estate space. I mean, we like the tax advantages, and we like we just like the market in general. I think that, doing the owner finance is probably a good thing that we fell into. And, one of the things that we're looking at next is getting into notes and studying a little bit more about that, instead of originating them, learning more about how to work that space and maybe profit from that. But it's, we really like, I think the things I like, I don't know, Nancy probably would agree, as the tax advantages that you get from real estate investing, but it's also the thrill of the chase and getting a good opportunity, and taking that opportunity and taking it to its ultimate goal, whatever that exit strategy might be. But we've always seem to be successful at what we've done. We've only had a couple of bad brushes with some deals that we only had to bring money to the table one time, so that's good. And so we continue to work the real estate space, and we look forward to doing it for another 15-20 years, because it'll always be, in my eyes, part of our portfolio and part of our investment and retirement portfolio. But that's pretty much all I had to say, Nancy.
Okay, Brian, thanks for saying that. He's a good partner to have, so. Wait, he was talking about a flip that we did a few years ago, and it was a smoking deal and we made money on it. But in the early days, we used to do a lot of the work ourselves. So, Brian knows how to hang sheetrock. I know how to tile. And this particular house, it was a complete gut job. And by the time we got done, we were just shocked. It took like 4 months, and we were just shocked that it was the heat of August. We couldn't open the windows. We got new windows on that house, right? So we had to
We
wait
actually
for
ended
that.
up putting all
The
new
house
windows
had
in.
like, I don't know if it had asbestos, but it had a bunch of stuff. So we had to bunny up suits and things. It was hot. You couldn't put a fan on. Brian ended up in the hospital he was trying to take a ceiling down with a pickaxe, and he slipped and fell on the concrete and had to rush him to the hospital. So yeah, it was a fun times in the real estate investing. So, and that's not the house, the house he was talking about where we had to bring money. Because I think sometimes you need to talk about your mistakes, and people can learn from your mistakes. But it has to do with partnering. And I had a partner on a property, and their way of how things should be in my way, they were doing things I didn't know about, and the quality of people. And so we only had to bring each like $2,500. But I remember at the closing table, the title company's like, "Well, Nancy, you're not very happy." I was like, "Yeah, because I'm bringing money to this table." So, so that's never, but again, it was a communication thing. Omid and Marianne have a book for you to read since you're just getting started. Brian and I somebody recommended this book to us many years ago. And this was our Bible. And to this day, for long-term rentals, we still follow the same principle in there. And it's Gary Keller's, it's his blue book, How to Become a Real Estate Millionaire, I think is the name of it. I haven't read it for a long time, but he has two. One's for real estate agents, and one's for just if you want to be an investor. And someone gave me that book, my mentor, and they said, when you read this, come back to me. And I read it like in a day and a half. I was so fascinated. I was hooked. And that's been our Bible for long-term rentals. So, I would pick it up. You can buy it like at half price stores now because it's been around forever. And it's just a good introductory book to not only buying long-term rentals, but then he gives some, if I remember right, I think he had some management tips in there too. So, well, I know we only have like 3 people left, but what I wanted to find out from you guys, I'm going to ask you individually. So I'm going to reverse it. So Rebecca, I'm going to start with you. So as I grow this group, my some of the format that I've used in the past is, we have kind of discussion like this. And then I'll either have a speaker come in or I'll do a presentation on a particular topic, whether it'll be about the market or short-term rentals or property management. So I wanted to find out from you guys, since you're kind of my founding folks, what topics would you like to see in future meetups? And Rebecca, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, well, I can think of several. I know one, I did your 3-day course that was like an hour at lunchtime, right after Quest. You did it online.
Oh yeah, on the self-directed IRAs.
Yeah, so I would like to learn more about that because I do have a small amount of money that I would like to transfer into a self-directed IRA. And then I know you've talked about, using small amounts. And so just kind of, how finding a deal like that, how would you go about finding a deal that would accept, a smaller amount of money?
Oh, like when I talked about using the option agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I would like to learn more about entity setup.
Okay.
And pretty much anything short-term rental.
Okay.
Property management, that type of thing. Different ways to increase your profitability with short-term rentals.
I'm making notes here, so it's not that I'm ignoring, I'm like writing that down.
Oh, no,
So
no,
those
that's
are
okay.
all great topics. And as far as entities go, I have a really good, he's actually my CPA here in Dallas, and he does a phenomenal presentation on entities for real estate investors. And, he'll go through and he'll describe, he'll probably want the whole hour, but that's okay. But he tells the difference between why you would want an LLC and when you'd want a limited, and why you would want a SEC or, or C corporation, I guess. I had him at one of my meetups a couple of years ago, and he just filled the room. I mean, he was phenomenal, and he understands real estate investing. So that's why I really like him too. So I think that would be a good person to have on, because a lot of people want to know when they're first starting, like we didn't know. We just put them under our name. But then as you grow, we said, okay, we learned how we could put them in our LLCs. And when you go to get financing, as Lisa was talking about, when they're titled in your LLC or your limited or your company name, those don't show up on your credit report, which is really good. We got to the point where we couldn't go conventional lending. So you have to get either creative with finding other sources of I think it was Lisa, you talked about doing the HELOC. We did that too. We were right there with you because you have to have a down payment. I mean, especially with short-term rentals, you have to have some money, even if you do what's called rental arbitrage, where, you go and just sublease a property. You still have to have money to put, furniture and things like that. But so money is a really big thing about, so we got two things. We have like the entity setup and how you should go about doing that. And then depending how your entity is set up, then how do you get money for that? Because, the LLC can't really borrow the money. And so we use a bank here locally that we're able to just do a financial statement with them. And it's called asset lending. And what they do is they take the property, and there has to be enough equity. So you still got to have a down payment, but everything is in the company's name. It's not in Brian and Nancy. All Brian and Nancy, we're signing like a promissory note, but the collateral for the loan is the property, but not, they do pull our credit, but our name is not on the mortgage, if that makes sense. So yes, that would be a good topic to have. So, well, and do you have any more, Rebecca? Because I still got a page here.
I don't know. Something may come up when other people are talking. Right now, that's all I can think about.
Okay. All right. And how about you, Lisa? What are some topics that you might want to hear about?
Yeah, that bleeds right into what I was gonna say, creative financing, just the financing strategies that I'm probably not aware of, but would like to be.
Okay. Like, are you familiar or like subject twos where you take the property subject to the existing mortgage? It's called like, you still put the property under contract, but you buy it subject to, so basically you take over the person's mortgage, right? And there's all kinds of like nuances. And so that one would be a good, like we'll have an attorney come and talk about subject to. And then private money, how to build a private money list of private money lenders where people you can just go to. I love private money because it's all relationship based. It's people that know me, it's like I said, relationship based. And, they don't want to invest in real estate, but they want their money to go to work. And so that kind of ties into those self-directed IRA people that I talked about, that Rebecca mentioned. So, and then with that, Lisa, the self-directed IRA, when I've invested that way, I learned how to do it with like $100. So that would kind of tie into what Rebecca was saying too, the option agreements. Not very many people know how, well, I didn't even know it existed until I started using it. And then second of all, when I talk about it, people are kind of blown away about how easy it is to use a self-directed IRA with an option agreement. And I use it's a combination of private money lenders and where they're actually buying the property for me, or they're lending me the money, but I'm getting the property in my self-directed IRA. And one reason that you might want to do that, and I don't advocate it for short-term rentals because there's just too much in and out, but long-term rentals, owner finance is a perfect example because that's, cash flow. But it goes right into your self-directed IRA and you don't pay taxes on it. So like when you flip, or when you pay taxes on it, I shouldn't say you don't ever pay taxes on it, but it's deferred until you take the money out. So you kind of get to control when and how much taxes you pay on the money that you're earning. So, but yes, creative financing. Yeah, that's another, we'll just have somebody come in and talk about all the ways you can do creative financing because I love creative financing. So any other topics, Lisa?
Other than what was mentioned by Rebecca, no, I can't think of anything additionally at this point. but
Okay, all
we'll see
righty.
where we go.
That's
Appreciate it.
right. And Maryam and okay, I'm keep saying I have to look. Omid, what are some topics that you guys would like to see? They're brand new real estate investors, so we might have covered, but maybe they have some other ones.
Well, pretty much what Lisa and Rebecca said is very interesting. And since we're just starting, I kind of would like to know if, what would be the best thing to start with.
Okay, as far as what to invest in, like what, like wholesaling or long-term rentals
Or
or short-term
flipping
rentals?
or long-term rentals or short-term rental, what would be the best thing to, just get our feet wet?
Okay. Now, one thing I will say, for you guys is that have you started searching for properties? Like, have you started that part of it where you're like looking on the MLS or you're looking around your neighborhood or have you started looking for properties yet?
No,
Any
we
property.
haven't even got that. We haven't even done that yet.
Okay, so here's what I would suggest, because this is what I kind of tell people. So number one, you got to start a search somewhere. So even though let's say you go, okay, I want to do long-term rentals, right? So you start looking for long-term rentals and you find a property and it's distressed, meaning, like I was talking about the pre-probate, those are always distressed properties. They usually always have to have some kind of rehab work done to them. But maybe you go, you know what? I don't really have the budget for the rehab, so I might have to wholesale it. So what you want to do is focus on finding a property, like set up your criteria, like I was talking about, like if you're going to target long-term rentals, wholesaling, flipping, you can't go wrong if you find 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 to 1,800. You just, the price point will be under 250,000. So you kind of want to just start looking for properties. You don't even have to know, okay, I'm going to do long-term rentals. I'm going to do short-term rentals. The key is to find a property that you can get at a good deal. So really, learning how to analyze a deal is where you guys are probably at, because when I find a property, I get it under contract and then I take it through some steps. And I say, okay, it'll make a good rental, it'll make a good short-term rental. Oh my gosh, it's a flip. So it really depends on what you're paying for the property, the work it needs to do and that kind of stuff. But what I would, if I were you guys, what I would do is, Omid, I would go in tomorrow and set up a search for properties in a particular area, like take a zip code or a county or something like that. Set up your search in MLS and just start looking for properties. Because if it doesn't meet a criteria for you, then that might be a property you can sell. Now, I know that seems daunting because you're like, well, how do I even know if it's a deal or anything like that? Well, that's okay, because you can always use me as a resource, or any of these ladies I'm sure would help you too. But you could reach out and say, hey, Nancy, I got this house, can you help me with the numbers? And it's literally just walking through how to figure out, is this a deal? And if it is a deal, what could be my exit strategies? So for example, I'm just going to tell you a little story. It's kind of one of my most famous deals because I've been published about it and written about, but I did my marketing and this guy called me, and I wasn't the first investor that he called. And I bought this house in downtown Fort Worth for $10,000 sight unseen. And why did I know I could buy it sight unseen? I mean, it was like a tear down, right? Because I knew the area, because I had been marketing to that over and over and over. So I had kind of run the comps on different properties. So I knew when the house, when I finally got around to, negotiating the price with the seller, I knew $10,000 was a good price on this house. Now, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I hadn't even seen it. I mean, he told me what was wrong with it. And I looked on Google Maps and I could tell it was kind of a, dumpy little property. And I ended up owner financing that house. So I bought it for 10. I did have a partner and he paid 5 and I paid 5. And after we closed on it, we put a sign in the yard in Spanish and English, just said owner will finance, a phone number. One side was English, one side was Spanish. We sold that house 3 days later for $50,000. That's how we fell into owner financing. So sometimes you just go, okay, I want to do long. And at the time I was long-term rentals. I was, and so that was my first owner finance deal. And it was simply because I bought the property at a good price. And I knew, if nothing else, even if I didn't know about owner financing, I could have always wholesaled that property for 15 or 20,000, right? So I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but the first step is that you want to start just searching. And I think it was Lisa said it took her months to find her property. Wasn't it you, Lisa, that said it took you months to find it in North Carolina? So she was getting the MLS from another realtor.
Yeah.
So once you start that search, properties will start coming up and you'll start getting more and more familiar with what's available in the area. Omid, you could do searches for rents, so once you find a property, then you could go in and walk through like, okay, well, how much rent could I charge for this property? And then you kind of back it up and say, okay, well, I can buy this property for this, my mortgage payment will be this, is it going to cash flow? So if you buy a property and if you stick to under, 250,000 ARV after repair value, you can always find something to do with that property. So I don't know if that helps but so we could even do something about how to analyze a deal. Well, the steps that I go through. Lisa, I think you were coming in, and were you going to say something about the months that it took for you to find that property?
No, I agree. I mean, you get really, really familiar with the area that you're looking to buy. You're constantly running the comps. Like you said, you're looking at what the rents are, what your short-term rental potential is. So using different, I like Rabu because it's free and their data is pretty good. It gives you other short-term examples to study in that same area. So yeah, exactly. It's just a lot of research, but then you start to really know that particular area.
So Maryam and Omid, where you're at in Crandall, what's the population of Crandall roughly?
I don't even know. It's a small town.
Okay, that's okay. I have invested in, okay, I'm probably not going to say it wrong. Corsicana, is that right? Corsicana? Corsicana, Wichita Falls. So I would like to say, I told you all that I live in Frisco, and I'd love to say, yes, I'm investing in my own backyard. I don't even invest in Dallas. I go 2 hours outside the city because it's so competitive, but also so pricey. So you have to kind of know, like, you might be able to find properties in Crandall. So, Omid, what I would look at is our house is selling in Crandall, like what are the days on market for houses? Because you could even target expired listings, right? Because owner finance folks are really, if you get a house under $200,000. So, Oma, do you know right off the bat, like what the average sales price for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is? In Crandall?
Crandall, pretty close to the mid twos right now.
What is it?
Anywhere
Come
from like
closer to the
200
mic. What is it?
Anywhere from like 200 to 260.
Okay, perfect. So you kind of already know that. So you don't want to be paying over like the 260, but what I would do is go on the MLS and start, just from a quickie, do expired listings. Is there anybody that had a house out there that hasn't sold? Or are there houses that are over 90 days? Now, if they're expired listings, then you can just, contact the seller and things like that. And I'll just tell you a little secret I use for my marketing. So I disclose that I'm a real estate broker, but in my marketing, because I'm buying it for myself, right? So what I do is I have a mom in my neighborhood, and she writes me little cards. I go to the dollar store and get those blank note cards. And literally this is the message that's in there. It says, "Dear Smith family, I'm interested in buying the house at 123 Main Street. If you're interested in selling, please call me." And it'll have Nancy and Brian and then my phone number. And that's it. Now, when they call me, I disclose right off the bat, "Hey, thanks for so much for calling." Because the first thing they're going to ask is, where did you get their name? And these are off on my pre-probate, right? The second question, they want to know where I got their name at. So then I tell them, my spiel and everything. And then I said, and just to let you know, I am a real estate broker. But if I buy your house, you're not going to pay any commissions. I pay all the closing costs. So I let them know up front. And then that's the end of that discussion. I don't have to have it anymore. Now, if they have a realtor, that's a different story. So I try not to market to houses that have realtors, because unless they're an investor, that it's just, so that's just a little tip for you. So you could do that same tactic, and you can even put in there, you're a real estate agent, but they don't pay. Now, I'm guessing that you're not going to charge them a commission if you sell their house, right? Now, if you get the listing, that's a different story. You could list their house, but if you're trying to buy investment properties, you can just go in there and say, "I'm buying this." So you can disclose that you're a realtor, but if you're buying it for yourself, then you would not charge your seller a commission. Does that make sense? Because you're going to negotiate it on the price.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can, of course, if you're flipping, then you can, list the property, and, you're not going to get a commission from that in terms of, but you're going to save the money. So think of your commission as a negotiation tool. So if, most people, pay somewhere between 5 and 6% to sell their house. So if that same, let's say you found an expired listing and it didn't sell, been on the market for like 180 days, you can literally reach out to that. And you can see, let's say that they wanted to tried to sell their house for 200,000, right? Well, what is that? Is that like a 12, if it was 6%, so they would be paying $12,000 in real estate commission. So you now have $12,000 to negotiate with. So do you see how you can use that as an advantage?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's where you guys probably need to do, is just start finding a niche, an area, and look at Crandall. Like, what other cities are around Crandall? Well, you said Houston, right?
No,
No.
it's Forney, Seagoville,
Forney, did you say
Kaufman.
Forney?
Yes.
Okay, Forney, I know has a lot of activity. And I know a couple people that actually do some serious flipping out in Forney. So they're finding houses.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So maybe you'll pick the city of Forney, so that's what I would do. Now, I would avoid doing a mass mailing to, like I did this early on. I did mass mailings to subdivisions. That never works. You kind of have to have a targeted group of people, motivated sellers. That's what you're looking at. If you have access to the foreclosure list, you can find deals on there, but, just know that every investor in the state of Texas are using those lists, right? So, since you are just starting, you're going to be up against some pretty heavy duty competition. Does that make sense? So I would try and target things like, believe it or not, not very many people go after the pre-probates. And I think it's because they don't know how to deal with people that have passed away. And not that I know, but I used to volunteer for hospice. So I think a little of that training and empathy go a long way when you're dealing with folks that, you know, because normally the people I buy houses from lost a spouse, lost their parents, or the kids have to put the parents in a nursing home. Always, you know, uncomfortable conversations. There's a lot of emotions going on. You know, so, but life experience plays a great role in that, right? So, you know, I can talk to them about, you know, my dad went through this, or, you know, my mom went through that. And you know, really, you know, when you get them on the phone. So the first thing is you gotta get your phone to be ringing. And so you want to target people that want to sell their house. So, and if you guys want to like call me, we can talk about it, you know, offline, but I'd be happy to give you some more tips.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to be really respectful of everybody's time. I know it's like it's almost 7:30, but thank you so much, everybody, for, you know, jumping on and being here. I'm excited. And even though we're small, we'll be mighty, right? And then I think as the word gets out, it'll grow. So, like I said, we have like 50 people signed up, so there's an interest. And I think the real estate community, I really want people to be able to come together and know each other, like Lisa and Rebecca. You know, you guys could always, you know, learn off of each other for the short-term rental. Mary Ann and Omid, since, you know, you're starting out, the four of us all have experience that we could probably help you with something if you have a question. So just know that this is a area that you can come and ask questions. And when we set it up in the community, what will happen is you'll be able to post questions, and I'll actually be able to go in there and either answer you, or you'll be able to get in touch with me directly or whatever. So I have a virtual assistant that's doing all the back end, so I can't tell you exactly how it's going to work yet. But if you all registered for this, we have your email, so we'll be able to let you know when the community and the video's up, and we'll probably have it up and going in a couple days as far as posting it. And then you'll see where the community is, where you can actually go in there and ask questions and whatnot. So, but I want to thank Rebecca, Lisa, Mary Ann, and Monica. I know she had to leave, and we will have this every third Monday. Third Monday of each month. So the next one would be November, whatever that. It's right before Thanksgiving. So we'll touch base then. But if anybody has any questions, I think you all probably know how to get a hold of me, but I'm going to just drop my email in the box here. And you can always reach me. Does that say Nancy at KBN Homes? Help me out, Brian. Yeah, I think I forgot the end. KBN Homes. And of course, if you did find it through Meetup, you can message me that way as well. So, but thanks everyone. Enjoy your week. Was it not lovely to have the nice, cool weather?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So, all right. Well, y'all take care. Again, if you have any questions, just reach out, and we'll see you next month. All right.
All right.
Okay,
thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.